can we bring in our next guest? If you don't mind, Arash Madani from Rogers Sportsnet, I'm going to tell you that your name was floating around the Saddledome press box. Ryan Varty and I spending a lot of time together over the past few weeks. Here, old Score alum. Hey, said to say hey.
Vardy's one of the all-timers, dude. I mean, he and I worked together for a full Flame season, and one of my all-time faves. What a great dude.
Really, really good guy. He was showing me all his photos from Super Bowl down there, covering it for TSN. Hey,
he had a good scam, though, Roddy. Vardy had a great scam because he did the NFC Championship in L.A., spent a week down there on vacation, and then did the Super Bowl. So he got a little play in there with some work, too.
He told me all about that and showed me the photos, absolutely. And we can come back around to the NFL stuff and Super Bowl because I'd like to do that. But I would really like to get your take on the Olympics. You're seeing the scorn and ridicule online that the Olympics have lost their luster. CBC says 70% of Canadians tuned in at some point. Where are you on these recently passed games, and do they need a sprucing up, or how'd you feel about it?
Well, if you think about it, it's now been 3 straight Olympics where the time zone has been in Asia. It was Pyeongchang and then Tokyo and now Beijing. And I think there were a lot of people who had some disdain going into this thing over the political aspect of China and what's happening over there. And so that kind of took away some of the attention. And there was no real lead up to the Olympics, though the qualifiers were canceled because of COVID. But Roddy, when you have 3 Olympic Games in a row happening on the other side of the world when the time zone is effectively flipped, that's not going to grow your North American audience. And I think, like, if you look at all the reasons why the attention and the numbers have been down, I would put just what the last little bit in the world has been like as a reason for it, but also just because of 3 consecutive games over there.
I spent a lot of time watching it, and I'm sure you did too. What were your takeaways from Beijing?
A few. One, the ageless Charles Amlan, 37 years old, 6th Olympic medal, leaves atop the medal podium. It's just amazing. And he and Marie-Philippe Poulin, the last links to Vancouver 2010, which is when so many of us kind of got into this thing. Poulin remains amazing, doesn't she, Roddy? What is the stat? In the last 10 goals scored in a gold medal game for Canada, Marie-Philippe has scored 7 of them, taking clutch to another dimension. But also, look, the whole Russian doping mess continues to carry a black cloud over the Olympic Games, over the IOC, over this whole movement. And until that's sorted, it's going to be the same BS with Russia moving forward.
And that does not help the profile of the Olympics for sure. But what was the reaction to your tweet immediately after Canada lost out in the quarterfinal of men's hockey? You said, well, we're a women's hockey nation. How did that go over?
That settles it, tongue in cheek. But
right.
Kind of, right. Yeah, well, the Olympics, yeah. The usual suspects were up in arms over it, and some realized for what it was. But let's be real here, Rod. 2010, 2014, and now 2022, gold, gold, gold. And in the middle of that, 1 silver medal when the Americans knocked off the Canadians in Pyeongchang. There's a pattern here, a pattern that isn't there on the men's side. And I get the NHLers haven't always showed up, but the medals speak for themselves, don't they?
Absolutely. I think this is one of the few chances that you get to talk about the Canadian Football League. What your thoughts on where that league is right now as it enters its doldrum stage, and also the NFL XFL agreement that was announced over the weekend. People say the CFL missed the boat on that, and I say they never wanted to do anything like this. So in the world of pro football right now and what's coming out of the weekend, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think what the real takeaway here is that the CFL needs to find a way to continue to be in the conversation, in the sports conversation in this country in the offseason, much more and much better than it is now. and it's ever done. It felt like, Rod, for a few years, they were almost intentionally trying to stay quiet and trying to stay off the radar. And what are the steps forward that the league is taking just to be on anybody's radar, on the consciousness of a sports fan, to be talking about it? There's a little bit of a blip in free agency when those within CFL circles get excited about things. What was the biggest move in free agency? Was it Masoli to Ottawa? I guess. Does that really move the needle? So what I haven't seen from any regime is a way to, like NFL free agency and the NFL calendar, the number one story right now, south of the border in sports, is not the Major League Baseball lockout. It's certainly not the NHL. A little bit of the NBA All-Star aftermath with Steph and LeBron, but it's where is Aaron Rodgers going? And that's the first domino that's going to lead to the next series of dominoes with Russell Wilson. And what could this mean maybe for Ryan Tannehill in Tennessee? And what about Carson Wentz and his landing spot, et cetera, et cetera? What the CFL continues to fail at is to have any kind of relevance outside of maybe a few days from December to May. And being off the grid for half the year is a major mistake.
Yeah, the NFL loves drama and fake news. The CFL loathes drama and fake news. And I think that is a big problem for them. I look at the banner over your shoulder of the Minnesota Vikings. I thought of you when they hired an analytics expert as their new general manager. How are we on that move?
I mean, wait to find out. I keep hearing collaboration all over the place. And I just wonder who's in charge here, because I thought that the new GM wanted Jim Harbaugh to be the coach, but maybe he didn't get his wish, or maybe Kevin O'Connell is going to come in and be the guy. We're noticing, Rod, it's now a real pattern, isn't it? That more than ever, if you're under the age of 40, you have a better chance of becoming an NFL head coach than ever before. And that if you went to Princeton and were an economics major, you have just as good a chance at becoming a general manager in the National Football League as if you rolled up the sleeves and, went through the scouting side of, things. So it's really interesting to watch how this whole thing is starting to evolve. Sashi Brown, went from football to the Washington Wizards, had his cup of coffee in baseball, now is getting back with the Baltimore Ravens. How the resume required to become the head of a football operation is so different now in the NFL than we've ever seen in our lifetime.
No doubt. I love the score mic flash over your shoulder there, by the way. I just noticed it. I have one buried somewhere. I'd like to know where it is. And by the way, in 60 seconds or less, is this not the quietest Major League Baseball lockout of all time? I guess, talk about being a tree falling in the forest. This has got to be about day 81 of the lockout, Arash, that nobody knows they're in.
They're idiotic. They're so stupid. I don't know how else to put this, Rod. I mean, here you are as a business, your viewership is down, your ratings are down, the attention on your business is down, the metrics are down, and what do? A lockout? You're preventing people from wanting to be invested into your game and into your sport, and who under the age of 20 is fully invested in baseball, and you're going to remove yourself from any kind of conversation late February where, there should be some excitement with spring training? I mean, presumably this thing's going to get solved and quick when they realize there's a lot of money to be lost at the start of a season. But golly, this is as bad as it gets and short-sighted as it gets with what the owners are doing right now.
Just terrible for the sport, because spring training should be underway with pitchers and catchers. Arash, this has been great. You're looking splendiferous, my man. Outstanding. Thanks for this, and
I
keep
look
up
forward to seeing you soon, man. It's been a hot minute since we run into each other. Congrats on everything you got going on over there, Roddy.
Thank you. Life is good. I appreciate it. Thanks, man, and let's do it soon.
You got it.
Sportsnet's Arash Madani checking in from the Big Smoke. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching the RP Show on YouTube. And don't forget, we're live daily on YouTube from noon to 2 Eastern. If you like what you see, hit subscribe. And if you like the program, check around for other segments of the Rod Pedersen Show here on YouTube.